Running down the list is the usual Quicken, AutoCAD, Dreamweaver. I would question that one, but we'll leave it.
Dreamweaver, oh god, you want to strike website?
Yeah. I think that needs a show all of its own. And then iTunes. Well, again, we could spend about 2 hours questioning that one as well. But a very strange one though that did make me sort of frown was Coral Home Office.
Yeah,
now, that was bizarre.
It's I'm not sure. Maybe the author, I think, is Jack Wallen, and maybe he has some history with this company or this application base. Maybe he used it before, but I think the company has just been sort of put up on sale, and I think it was kind of sold on the basis of the owners have changed or the investors have changed. But I think it's based in Canada, and it's kind of like company nobody covers in the news and nobody knows exactly what they do, but they still have some market share. You'd be surprised. I think they have almost 1% in several places, and some secretaries and people in courtrooms still use this type of thing. It has some merits to it, and they don't really want to leave the application. So as long as they get some money going and they have some developers maybe implementing features, I suppose that's kind of a really small niche product. So that's kind of okay, but I don't really think it's necessary for.
No, well, that was my view. I mean, the only thing that comes up, I don't think I've ever seen it in operation, the Home Office. And the only thing when people mention Coral, I always imagine that hot air balloon that's rainbow coloured, if I'm remembering their logo right.
Yeah, you probably should think about Xandros as well. You know the story of Xandros and the relationship to Corel, or not? Probably. I'll just give a quick personal perspective. The company Corel basically was working a lot with Linux about 10 years ago, and it was one of the leading companies, and it was producing products based around Wine, which is the compatibility layer for Windows applications. So Corel was making this really compelling, very good distribution of Linux, and it was working on kind of quite a few products that were supposed to maybe bring you some proprietary application, including theirs. They have a Photoshop replacement as well, not just a word processor. But and what happened is Microsoft then signed a deal with them. I think they paid them a lot of money. I think they possibly even changed some of the staff, what I called entryism, kind of put some more Microsoft-friendly people inside. And once they made the deal, the company basically over time completely lost interest in Linux, and the whole website change became very Windows oriented if you go to the website today. And then there is this kind of I'm not sure if it's a spin-off, but they have Xandros trying to deal with some of the remaining assets to do with Linux, and as we know, Xandros is completely off the radar. I'm not sure if they're still kind of around, and nobody reports on anything like layoffs but as far as I can tell on the news, maybe you see one article a week or something just mentioning something from the past about Xandros, but nothing actually new about them. So I kind of assume that's a kind of a dead company now, where kind of a phantom company still kind of flying around, and unless they make some signal or something, that's all a person can assume.
And then the final one on the list, which is something I don't think Roy will have much experience with, but I certainly got hooked to it, much to my shame, and that's World of Warcraft. According to this site, it says that it suggests it's no longer supported even through Wine. That's the way I'm reading it. I was playing this game in 2008. I had a subscription, I think, for about 4 months. And at that point, it was working perfectly. I had no problems at all. And in fact, I wrote an article. I did a like-for-like comparison on the same machine. It was an XP machine that was dual booting Linux, running World of Warcraft through Wine and obviously natively on XP. And the performance for exactly the same graphical features was far better on Linux through Wine than it was on native Windows, and I think I've talked about that quite often.
Yeah, I heard this from actually I heard it from an MVP as well, Microsoft MVP, which kind of gives you kind of a credible source for a person who would be inclined to say it's working better on Windows. But no, it was using Linux with Wine to get better performance, which is but one thing I do know is that the company is it Blizzard?
Yeah.
They basically declined to port it to Linux. They named the fact that existing users of Linux were basically using the Wine compatibility to run the application. So that's kind of an example where Wine is a bit of a deterrent and a bit of a reason for companies not to give you a native version of a program. It's a bit unfortunate.
I mean, it does seem madness. Certainly, when I was playing in 2008, that there was even groups of people that were Linux users using World of Warcraft, and it was sort of a social thing as well. Rightly or wrongly, I was hooked on that for about 4 months.
Yeah, I played the first and the second game. I should point out, I remember in school, I was about 14 or 15, and that was the first time we had this Novell network, the Novell protocol, running around, and we were playing World of Warcraft. I think, the first one. And we were basically doing multiplayer thing, which at the time wasn't quite the common thing to do. For me, I think was one of the first times to do these types of things. So we have this kind of a game party. That's one of the more exciting things I did, at least when I was a kid. And but I actually did see World of Warcraft 3, which wasn't quite exciting. It felt like they were trying to kind of what's the word? To turn it into kind of a first-person shooter type thing, putting the 3D and kind of saying, oh, well, we have to have 3D in OpenGL, and the gameplay doesn't matter as much. We have those transitions in videos and things, and so it wasn't quite the same game anymore. So some friends were teasing me and trying to tell me to play World of Warcraft, but I got addicted to some games before, so I'm kind of saying I'm not going to start with anything now. It's better if I don't try something now.
Yeah, I think I would go along the same line as you. But the question that needs to be asked now before we sort of finish this section is, what level did you get to in World of Warcraft, and what character were you? I believe I was a 42 level paladin.
You're talking in terms of World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Well, in the first one, okay, it's probably not about Linux. I'll just do it quickly. The second and the first, you have those levels, and you have these challenges where you have to defeat those camps around you, and you have different numbers of them. And I think they had like 15 or so, sometimes levels you have to pass, and I basically finished both of them. But I'm not sure if it had difficulty level as part of the thing. But anyway, I did finish both games, and I was very happy, but I probably spent a good number of hundreds of hours of my life on playing this game. And getting my mouse skills maybe a bit better, but that's about it.
So then, sort of conclude this one. Is there, in your opinion, have you got a Windows binary that you would like to see come over to Linux for a native version? Is there any particular one? It can be. I'm not talking proprietary here, or necessarily.
Probably not a Windows binary, because then you probably want to use Wine on it. But trying to think if there is any. I think I found replacement for just about anything I've been needing, even for work. But one of the things I should point out, I still use MATLAB sometimes, and MATLAB is available for Fedora and Red Hat and things like that. So it does work natively on Linux, and lots of people use it on that. But it's proprietary, so that doesn't make me very happy. But I have to collaborate with people, so obviously I have to use a specific type of format, and it's not as though I can use Octave, which is the I think it's associated with the GNU project, but I'm not sure. But in any case, it doesn't seem to have moved very much since I kind of finished my PhD and everything else. It seems to have kind of been around the same stale kind of form. So I think we have a real deficiency when it comes to doing calculus in free software on Linux. We have GNU plot, and we have all kinds of things for manipulating figure files, and we have Xfig, which is really, really old. But when it comes to trying to produce mathematical things, you usually need Maple or Mathematica, or you need MATLAB is very exceptionally popular. But and all the code I wrote for it, although it's kind of open source and I give it to people even on the basis of BSD license, it's people need to get the program underneath. It's kind of like open source for Windows in a way. You have to buy Windows to actually run the thing. So it's kind of unfortunate, but that's the most I can do with my code to ensure people can use that. I was ranked first in the world at some stage for my contributions to the MATLAB community in terms of the code I wrote and made available. That was in 2005, so a long while ago.
Well, I mean, looking at it from sort of my side, my point of view, when because I've installed now, I think over it's probably running about 47 installations of Linux on friends, families, colleagues' machines. And one of the things that strikes me as lacking from Linux isn't we've got packages to replace absolutely everything, in my opinion. I mean, I've said to you before in the IRC